It's a meltdown. It's not. It's
What
definitely
would,
not under control, and it's
if
not
we
a
are
stalemate.
seeing, if we are seeing this as a theatrical before escalation, how could the US escalate? Obviously, there've been talks about tomahawks. What other weaponry could the US supply Ukraine?
Tomahawks, which the Russians will deal with, and which will seal the fate of Ukraine. That's my point. There's nothing the U.S. can do. There's nothing Trump can do. The best outcome for Trump as president of the United States, and as someone who likes to position himself as always winning, and someone who wants to say, I've now resolved 9 conflicts, which is what he really wants to say, right? The best scenario for him is to work with Russia and to try and push the Russian plan to Zelensky, and the U.S. can do it. They have the power to do it. Other than that, and outside of nuclear war or U.S. boots on the ground, there's really not much the U.S. can do.
Talking about U.S. boots on the ground, in developments, underground developments, we've had Ukraine fire ATACMS missiles into Russian territory for the first time a few days ago. And obviously that would have involved U.S. troops in firing those weapons. How significant is this? That's been a red line for Russia for a long time. Russia said that, if ATACMS missiles are fired into their territory, that's essentially NATO firing into Russia. Yeah. So would that change things? Could that change things? We've also seen reports kind of in line with what you're saying, is that all these attacks onto Russian oil refineries have only impacted Russian refining capacity 3%. By 3%.
3%. Yeah,
that was pretty surprising.
Yeah. Well, I think you're saying something very, very interesting there. You're right. The message that Trump was getting with regards to the Russian economy and the situation with Russian oil, my hunch is that he was getting it from Bessent, who's also very much a war hawk. He was telling Trump, if I had to take a guess, that this is working. We continue to strike at the refineries, we're sinking the Russian economy. And now you have the reports saying, well, not really at all. And so I think this also hit home for Trump. So, I mean, if you're the president of the United States and you've based your policy on this escalation that they're telling you is working, whether militarily or economically and energy, and all of a sudden, over the past 3 weeks, the reality, not what they're telling you, the objective reality is the exact opposite. Then you're saying, oh, crap, I better rush to put something together. Hey, Steve Witkoff, call Dmitriev, who you have a very good relationship with, and let's start putting some ideas on paper. And I think that's what happened. And I think now these ideas, Trump has put them together in this 28-point plan, and I think he's passed different ideas around, and we have a bit of a chaotic situation now as to what is the actual plan. What are we actually negotiating here, or are we negotiating something? Are we just looking at talking points between Russia and the United States? Putin set a foundation for further discussions.
How big of a role do you think the Russian advances that we've talked about earlier, Pokrovsk, Seversk, Zaporizhia, etc., have had on these? Suddenly a few days later, we've got all these different peace plans being discussed. Do you think this is the West scrambling to try to end the war, considering that Russia's advancing?
Exactly right.
Pokrovsk is falling.
Look at the timeline of when all of this happened. We know from reports from Financial Times, Reuters, Axios, that Witkoff started to re-examine the Alaska terms 3 weeks ago. So this didn't happen yesterday or a couple of days ago. This was 3 weeks ago when they started to reignite the negotiations with Russia. Remember, Trump walked away from this. Trump walked away, not Putin, not Russia. Whatever the mainstream media says about Putin walking away or not wanting peace, that's false. Trump is to blame. He walked away from Alaska. He also walked away from Budapest, and he left Orban hanging. Anyway, fine. That's Trump. 3 weeks ago, Witkoff restarts everything. What happened 3 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago, Russia said, we've got Pokrovsk and Mirnograd and Kupiansk encircled. That's exactly what you said is exactly spot on.
If Pokrovsk falls, what's left for Ukraine? What's the next front line there? We've got, I've got the city, I don't know if I can pronounce them, Petropavlivka and Oleksandrivka. These are the two cities after Pokrovsk. How significant are those? Are the defenses there strong? Because these are the final defenses that Donbass, what the Ukraine's been trying to keep throughout all these negotiations. Exactly those, that former NATO defensive belt. How significant is this? Are they more fortified than Pokrovsk?
I don't think they are, but I don't think that's the end game. My sense of things is that Pokrovsk has been captured. The Russian Ministry of Defense always delays in announcing things. They announced that Kupiansk has been captured. They announced that today. Sooner or later, give it another week or so, they'll announce Pokrovsk and Mirnograd as well. I think they're just now cleaning up. They're in a cleanup operation right now, and after that, you're going to be looking at the last two big cities, Slavyansk, Kramatorsk, and I think Russia is already preparing the encirclement